Today's program, the Focal Theme Lectures. The focal theme lecture, the focal theme of the 38th Kerala Science Congress is Ocean Science for Blue Economy and Ecosystem Restoration, and it reflects Kerala's deep connection with the oceans and its responsibility towards sustainable coastal development. This theme emphasizes the role of ocean science in driving a sustainable blue economy, one that balances economic growth with environmental conservation through focused discussions, research presentations, and interdisciplinary dialogue. The focal theme aims to generate scientific insights and policy relevant solutions that support responsible ocean governance and long-term ecological sustainability.
To begin this session, it is my honor to invite Professor P. Balram, Chairman of the 38th Kerala Science Congress, to formally welcome the gathering and introduce the speakers for this session.
May I also invite the presenters, Dr. Tamban Melor, Director, National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, Goa, as well as Professor A. Bijukumar, Vice Chancellor, Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies, Kochi. I would also like to invite Dr. C. Anil Kumar, Chief Scientist, Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment.
Good morning, or maybe I should say good afternoon. We have two speakers in this session, which addresses the focal theme of the Congress, which really is the science, technology, and everything else of the oceans. Our first speaker, I'll introduce both the speakers so that they can move on one after the other. The first speaker is Dr. Tamban Melot. He's currently Director of the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research in Goa, and he's been with that center in Goa since 2002. He originally graduated with a master's degree from the Kochi University of Science and Technology, moved on to a PhD from Goa University, where the work was actually carried out at the CSIR laboratory there in Goa, the National Institute of Oceanography. After a brief period as a faculty member at Kannur and as a scientist at NIO in Goa, he joined the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research. He has many distinctions to his credit, including the National Geoscience Award given by the Government of India in 2013. He's also a Fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences and the National Academy of Sciences of India, and also a Fellow of the Norwegian Scientific Academy for Polar Research. But he has one distinction which will make most of us envious. He has undertaken several scientific expeditions to the Antarctica, to the Arctic, to the Himalayas and the Southern Ocean. He was also part of the first Indian scientific expedition to the South Pole in 2010. Professor Melot.
Thank you, Professor Balram. It's an honor to be introduced by someone like you, which, we always heard actually as a student, and we a lot of time, as the current science editor and so many things, and that's been always a privilege to meet you in person. Now that introducing is even a bigger privilege. Thanks to the KSGST for inviting me, Professor Sudhir, for making a call, saying that, Secretary Dr. Ravichandran from the Ministry of Earth Science is unable to make it due to a meeting at the Prime Minister's office today, asking me to take shoulder that responsibility of his talk. Thanks to Professor Sabu, who has been always a friend, always keep calling for something or other, which we work so well together. Thanks to all the organizers. Thanks to several of my friends and colleagues, a lot of the students. The topic which I try to address today is more of a larger, bigger audience, which so necessarily it's not purely science. You just try to introduce a topic on a perspective of from the Ministry of Earth Sciences, especially focusing on a non-living resources. How do we place for the India's blue economic future? Where do we stand? How do we plan to the progress? What is our priorities? What is our future? So the ocean science for blue economy with a short this one at the same time with also looking at the marine minerals as for the sustainable development as part of that. So I'm also representing the Ministry of Earth Science on behalf of Dr. Ravichandran, who has kindly asked me to take this responsibility. So I would just try to give a kind of a small introduction by saying that what are the basic priorities of the ministry, how do it is aligned with the kind of theme which we are going to discuss today, what are those opportunities and challenges exist in blue economy, what are the resources we have, and what are those especially focusing on of course since there is a Professor Biju who is already there, who will be focusing more on the living resources. I would rather try to keep away from that. And then look at on a blue economy point of view, resources versus sustainability. Because blue economy is all about sustainable economy. So without sustainability, that does not work. And what are the possible way forward? How is a country prepared for that future? And we'll touch upon the one of the pilot project of the blue economy framework of the country is the Deep Ocean Mission. So I'll try to give a brief about what is that mission is about, what are these major pillars, then try to focus one of the pillar which is on the marine non-living resources as the marine minerals as the pillar of that particular economy. So if you look at the country, I think India is the only country where we have actually there is a ministry for earth sciences which look at earth as a system, because the climate change has proved that beyond doubt that earth works as a system. There is no place for these silos within that system. From the large scale to small scale, all of them are interactive as well as interconnected. Therefore, all the 5 spheres of the earth system, that is the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, that is the oceans, the geosphere, the land where we live, the cryosphere where water is found in frozen form, whether it's in poles or in Himalayas and mountains, or the biosphere which exists in all these all spheres. The biosphere is the one which connects all of them together and which makes this world living form. So Ministry of Earth Sciences have various institutions working towards each of these goals, which works under an Earth Commission as well as Earth System Science Organization. Therefore, there is a interactive as well as connectedness between these institutions, unlike some of the other ministries. And from the weather forecasting to the polar research, we are all together. The basic idea is about look at for an earth system science predictability. What are the observations required? What are the data we have? What are the data we need to generate? What is the knowledge we have it? What are the knowledge we need to gain? What are the information what we have? And how does information and knowledge finally to convert into services? So the services is an extremely important component for the this particular ministry. So we have this science, translate science to services for the society is the basic motto of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So if you look at the future priorities of the India, you look at the Vikasit Bharat in 2047, One of the biggest challenge going to be the addressing the climate challenge and of course the associated environmental challenges. And with that comes the promoting sustainable resource management, because as the countries keep growing, the population keep growing, sustainability as well as the management, the food for everyone is going to be the critical requirement. Along with that comes the increasing disasters, because the climate challenges brings its own disasters. As we must have seen last 10 years, the amount of the climate challenges which face, on which in fact the state of Kerala is a kind of a test bed, an experimental site for it, I can see that. From the heat wave to the extreme rainfalls, extreme monsoons, unseasonal rains to unseasonal heat waves and so on. So this is the real test bed for all those things what is going to come. So there is no other place to discuss this kind of topic, which I have seen whenever I talk to a community within Kerala, it's always receptive because they are already facing the climate challenge really. So with that also will come, how do we enhance the agricultural productivity? How do we look at the public health and air quality, because with the kind of the development, all this also keep become bigger and bigger challenges. And the water resource management, the kind of the water, amount of quality of water, that is the drinking quality of water is reducing day by day. And how do we manage that? And look at the energy and sustainable development. How do we look at the energy as in a sustainable way? So with that, another most important pillar going to be the blue economy for the progress of the country, which will, and national security is of course the country's the most important priority for Indian nations for that matter. So climate change is interactive to all of this. It is all actually interlinked and interconnected. Then there is this ocean. As more than 72% of the whole globe is covered by ocean, it provides an ocean of opportunities. Because it feeds us the kind of protein which we require. A state like Kerala depends so much on the fishes. But it's most importantly regulate our weather. It regulates the long-term climate change. And also generate most of the oxygen we breathe. And it's also happened to be one of the largest sink of the man-made, human contributing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And it of course provides the large amount of mineral resources. And is to say that actually it's also tourism and recreation, everything connected to oceans. Most importantly, it's also the maritime transport and the economy, which is the one again going to drive under the blue economy, is so much interlinked with the ocean and the predictability of the ocean. We all know that ocean, but how much is predictable, how well you can reroute the ship routing, management of all that, which will come with the security and coastal protection. But the fact is that only 5% of the deep ocean, the most of the time all our work happens to be in the coastal ocean, which is already burdened, which is also so much activities going on. Even the fisheries, if you look at in India, it's mostly along the coastal regions. We still don't have a deep sea fisheries still yet to come. Because if you look at the UN Decade of Ocean Science, all that is making the ocean becoming so important. Therefore, the government of India has also come with kind of a vision which strongly highlight the blue economy as the 10 core dimensions of India's future growth. Then there are series of challenges. The most important is the climate challenge, because the stress induced by the changing climate system, whether it's increasing sea level, which lead to coastal erosion and the storm surges associated and all those activities. The ocean warming. Arabian Sea happened to be one of the most warm ocean at the moment, because if you look at the last 2 decades, the Arabian Sea warming has been one of the most dramatic what we see, and associated with, you must have also seen a lot of intensity of cyclones increasing. So the Arabian Sea was never known for cyclones. We are always talk about Bay of Bengal whenever we talk about cyclones, but what we see actually increasing number of cyclones, and especially their intensity, especially their unpredictability, is happening, which in the last cyclone, what you must have seen. So the extreme weather, which we already discussed, the state of Kerala, we don't have to talk about it. We have already experienced this multiple times. And the associated health of the ecosystem health being lost in many of the coastal areas, especially in the island nations, islands like Lakshadweep and our coral health being issues, mangroves being lost or being facing constant pressure from the man, and HABs, that is a harmful algal bloom, is something become more and more very common in a warming ocean. Acidification is a topic which actually which is associated again coral health and so on. Then there are other stress associated, natural hazards which we cannot do anything. We can only try to protect ourselves from that, whether it's cyclones or tsunamis and storm surges. Like in Kerala state, is quite well known for this Kallakadal phenomena, which actually, suddenly, people see actually things changing so dramatically in the coast. And interestingly, most of these events, those kind of storm surges associated with the Kallakadal events are actually basically found to be related to what is coming from southern hemisphere, especially southern ocean, the ocean close to Antarctica, which shows that actually the world is so connected. What happens in Antarctic and Arctic finally also impact us. We of course have a question of this overexploitation within the region, because we are very restricted to the kind of the exploitation at the moment to a certain depth. We never went into more deep seas like this Korean or Chinese are doing. So therefore there's so much pressure along the coastal areas, and as the transport is increasing in the ocean, it's also, you have the question of oil spills and associated things. We have a seawater intrusion and so on. Then of course there are other challenges like resource mapping, technologies to how do we get the technology right to harness those available resources. How do we mitigate the changes, the challenges what we have it, and all these are connected to the policies developed by the government, and it also connects to the security, and most importantly it's also connected to what is happening internationally, the geopolitics of the globe, because the supply chains and everything requirements comes from there, and that will be ultimately connected to strategy, and then human capital, one which is going to be the most important thing towards all this. So capacity building is extremely important if you want to take the blue revolution forward. I will not talk this topic, which is again Professor Biju's areas actually, the living resource part of it. The energy from the ocean is something which we have been hearing quite some time. One of the most successful thing is what we signed in the Lakshadweep now, under the Ministry of Earth Sciences, where there is the salinity gradient is being utilized basically for the, as far as the temperature difference is being utilized for getting fresh water as well as, energy from that. So this is something which is already ongoing. We will talk about again later. And the fresh water, which is also comes as a, side product, which makes it very attractive for these island, islands like Lakshadweep, and where fresh water is the most difficult thing to have it. So there is already 6 operational such things from the National Institute of Ocean Technology in Lakshadweep. And this has happened to be one of the most indigenous low temperature thermal salination, LTTD what they call, which is an eco-friendly technology, and it's ideal for islands where you have the steep gradient of the bathymetry exists. And then there are the minerals coming from ocean, which we have been hearing for quite a long time, started with the polymetallic nodules. But now as the globe is looking forward to a more of a sustainable energy kind of thing, so the critical minerals required are, most probably will be there in the polymetallic sulfides, not on the polymetallic nodules. So you have this ocean mining is a potential possibility. There exists no policies or law at the moment. In the International Seabed Authority is still working on it. But one should be prepared for it actually when such an opportunity comes in. So you have this extensive deep sea mineral exploration is currently underway with the international waters. Anything beyond the national jurisdiction comes under the International Seabed Authority. So we have this the UN laws like UNCLOS, which is governed by the International Seabed Authority. So we already have a kind of a regulatory thing which is working towards it. So we are the Ministry of Earth Science is currently working on some of the policy regimes to develop capabilities in both deep sea exploration as well as mining sustainably. So therefore it has generated significant interest, and there are various things like whether it's polymetallic nodules, polymetallic sulfides, cobalt crust, and so on. All this requires innovation, R&D, and technology adoption, because investments on advancing scientific knowledge and rolling out of new technologies will be crucial and critical for the success of that. So one of this, the pilot project of that is actually Deep Ocean Mission. In the process also, they are also looking to promote the industry academia partnerships, creating incubators for enhancing R&D in each of the state universities and so on. Most importantly, we also require a common platform for ensuring synergy between different ministries, academia, and especially private sector, because government sector will never be able to do all those things which is, if you are looking for a revolution. So this is where actually Earth System Enterprises in the anvil, so which is already like in terms of like what the biotechnology department DBT has done, the Ministry of Earth Science also coming up with potential Earth System Enterprise. So we will have this, new insights, new understanding, which will lead to new products and new services. Ultimately, science, as the nations look forward to the future, they also look forward to science becoming, the engine for that, growth. So with that, actually, India's blue economy policy framework is, already, come into picture, which is for the sustainable utilization of blue economy resources for the economic growth of the country, which ensures health, safety, and diversity of also the ocean ecosystem, which thinks about blue GDP, sustainability, science-based solutions, and interministerial, and also it will ultimately also will contribute to the mitigation of those hazards. It's been championed by Ministry of Earth Sciences with others. So if you look at the key pillars of the focus area of that blue economy vision is, one is sustainable utilization, which means you look at the optimizing resources available, both living and non-living, for the socio-economic development. Look at with an integrated approach, like there should be coherent policies for sectors like fisheries, aquaculture, shipping, tourism, offshore energy, and deep sea mining. Many of them are not interconnected at the moment. Each one works in their own space, which will ultimately lead to economic growth. The vision is to boosting the GDP from marine activities double from the current contributions of about 4%. And it also will address the conservation aspect, like protecting marine ecosystems, using coastal blue carbon ecosystems, mangroves and seagrass like, for shoreline protection as well as carbon sequestration. Technology and innovation going to be again very key, because that would drive the research, developing deep sea technologies, marine biotechnology, etc. And the governance is going to be an extremely important factor here, because establishing a national blue economy advisory council is going to, for this coordination of all this. So the key deliverable is going to be to double the share of blue economy contribution to nation's gross value added by 2047, when the Vikasit Bharat dream. Convergence and integration of the interministerial decision making of marine sector for future projects and developments, and data and science-based decision making to enable real-time initiatives to harness the potential of the blue economy, and also mitigating measures for the many of the marine hazards which are already existing and many in the anvil. So the way forward, observations. Without observations, none of your model will be function good. None of your decision making will be correct. Whether it's in situ or the satellite based or so on. Marine spatial planning is going to be an extremely important tool there. We need to explore, identify, map the resources so that optimally what to search for. We of course need to enhance the technology to a level of what internationally is already going on, and therefore the harnessing of resources requires technology, and mitigation of ocean hazard is going to be an important factor of that, for both whether it's climatic or non-climatic. So all of this will require development of ecosystem-based solutions and services. Therefore, the blue economy vision also has a vision of a clean ocean, healthy and resilient ocean, productive and predictive ocean, a predictable ocean rather, a safe and accessible ocean, and also an inspiring and engaging ocean. So ocean being our future, it's a collaboration going to be also the key. So with that, actually, I just want to touch upon one of the most mission-mode project to support the blue economy initiatives of Government of India, which came up as actually pilot project for the blue economy vision. There are 6 verticals to it. The vertical 1 deal with the technology development, whether it's a deep sea mining, underwater vehicles or manned submersible, which is led by National Institute of Ocean Technology, under which actually development of a human submersible is to carry 3 people to 6 kilometers below the ocean is underway. It should be ready by 2027. And second part of that is the development of integrated mining system. And this is all about technology to harness the resources. The vertical 2 is about advisories and predictability of the ocean. The ocean climate change advisory services, where a suite of observations and models will be developed to understand and provide future projections important for the climate variables on a seasonal to decadal time scales. Especially predicting how what's happening in ocean will make a lot of difference to the economy as it is. But prediction requires a lot of data. So the data collection, data addition as well as data integration is also part of this. The vertical 3 deals with the exploration and conservation of deep sea diversity, led by the CMLRA. There is an institution in Kochi, which is about inventorying the deep sea fauna and flora, capacity building in that taxonomies, development of biodiversity database, bioprospecting, etc. And the vertical 4 is led by the NCPR, the institution which I am leading, called Deep Ocean Survey and Exploration, which aim to explore and identify potential sites of multi-metal hydrothermal sulfide mineralization, especially along the Indian Ocean mid-oceanic ridges, starting from the Southwest Indian Ridge to Central Indian Ridge to the Carlsberg Ridge. And also a new vessel is being built for this. It's already under process. The vertical 5 deals with the energy and fresh water from the ocean, which is again led by NIOT Chennai, which is to also study as well as also come with engineering design for a new OTEC plant, which will also have a desalination plant associated. So which will have both water and energy component to it. And the vertical 6 is about creating an advanced marine station for ocean biology, which is development of human capacity. That's not actually singly based in one place, it's across the country. Currently, as part of this, actually, that from Arunachal Pradesh to south of Kerala, we have now institutions working in Kerala, with the ocean marine biology, which is unheard of actually, because this is an opportunity where involve people all across the country to study oceans. So a lot of projects more than 100 crores of projects is being distributed in that way. And ocean biology test bed is going to be ready under that. So I will also just touch upon actually in another 5 minutes the deep ocean mission, the vertical 4 which we are leading, which is essentially to explore the multi-metal hydrothermal sulfide deposits found around the mid-oceanic ridges, which is basically as part of the India's the contractual agreement with the International Seabed Authority, what called ISA, which is situated in Jamaica in Caribbean islands. As you can see that actually we have multiple places where we are currently focusing on, from Carlsberg Ridge to the Southwest Indian Ridge as well as the Central Indian Ridge. And also a new ship is being ready by 2027. We will have a new multidisciplinary ocean vessel. Marine minerals, why do we search for it? Because if you look at the rising demand of minerals and rare metals especially, the country like India does not have so much of them. So there is a renewed interest in exploration of some of those mineral resources, especially focusing on the massive sulfide deposits along the mid-oceanic ridges, what we also call as the polymetallic sulfides, which are formed around the hydrothermal vents. Hydrothermal vents are nothing but the mid-oceanic ridges are the place where the new land is created or the new plate is created, we call in the earth sciences. And that the plate created start moving, and that means also a place where magma come into touch with the water. Involving water into that process creates a lot of selective absorption and selective segregation of minerals and metals, which are found quite commonly along many of the ocean ridges. I will come to that again. Then there is also this cobalt-rich crust, especially one is very close to our southwest coast of India, called Afinasi-Nikitin Seamount. Then of course these age-old manganese nodules, which is in the abyssal plains of the deep ocean. So the International Seabed Authority is the organization dealing with that, which is an intergovernmental body, which has an authority beyond all places beyond the national jurisdiction. There are 22 contractors. India has 3 contracts to it. One is on a polymetallic nodule and 2 contracts for the polymetallic sulfides. So however, there is a lot of question about the fragile environment in the deep seas. Because we are talking about an ocean which is about nearly 3,000 to 4,000, 5,000 meter depth. But there is no oxygen exist. There is no photosynthesis exist. There is a lot of fragile ecosystem existing out there. You are thinking about in future mining of that. Thank you. So the part of the environmental impact assessment is the must for any of the activities. Currently the existing the exploration contracts of what you see here, you can see that within Indian Ocean we already have a contract for the polymetallic nodules. Then another one for the polymetallic sulfides, hydrothermal sulfide here. The new one is on the Carlsberg Ridge for the polymetallic sulfides. So there are several countries interested in this. So the major objective of this particular project is to identify the potential sites of hydrothermal sulfide mineralization, initiation of the associated research, and conduct a comprehensive baseline environment studies before we can think about even mining. So an exploration strategy is quite diverse, because we are talking about a mineral resource which is very small, situated at a depth of 5,000 meter, without any light over there. You require tools which are unheard of. You require a host of geophysical, oceanographic, geological tools as well as sampling. You need to do a ship-based regional surveys. You also need to do a focus surveys using autonomous underwater vehicles, specialized geophysical tools. Then you also need to ground truth and so on. Which will require robotically operated vehicles. And where we are, one of the biggest problem in this actually that unlike the polymetallic, the technological challenges are even higher here, because they are usually restricted to a small area on the deep sea floor and also very deep waters. Sir, I got how many minutes, sir, now? Any minutes left? 5 minutes there. Thank you. I'm done. So this is one of the picture which has come from the survey, deep surveys which we have carried out recently on hydrothermal plumes. You can actually see a plume which is happening, which is using an autonomous underwater vehicle. Say plume, as the AUV is going, you can actually see a plume coming out on the right side. So that is the hydrothermal vent, which is at a depth of about nearly 3,000 meter. So we also signed a new agreement now. As part of this agreement, actually, we're going to have again a new 10,000 square kilometer area in the Carlsberg Ridge. And all this require new platforms, new technologies. So the government of India is very seriously aware that actually we need to invest a lot on the infrastructure if you want to be successful. We already have a new research vessel under construction. We have in principle approval for 3 more vessels. One is to replace the old 40-year-old vessels which no longer contribute to the way it should be. And most importantly, we will also have a new ice-breaking ships for reaching to Antarctica, and most importantly to do research in Arctic. Arctic being an ocean now currently having so much of sea ice, but sea ice is retreating so fast. So if you want to explore anything in Arctic, you require ice class vessel. Even the ocean surrounding Antarctica, the Southern Ocean, requires that. So with that, the priorities which the Ministry of Earth Sciences has put forward to the Vision 2047 includes observations, understanding, modeling, finally leading to services. Which means to do science, translate the science to services for the benefit of society. Which will require all the components of our system science. Like in atmosphere, the vision is to, from a simple weather forecast to weather management. How do we manage weather systems? In ocean, it's for the blue economy vision is to double the GDP, blue component of the GDP. In cryosphere, in Arctic, Antarctic and all these glaciers, scientifically we want to advance the weather prediction because whatever happens, extreme weather, especially in India, currently come from Arctic, changes in Arctic. As Arctic sea ice is dramatically melting away, you also have a lot of the problem related to the extreme weathers. So that's an area which we need to contribute. But we also want to be a lead player in both in science and the strategy in the polar regions. Under geosphere, they want to have an earlier earthquake warning. They want to explore the non-living resources in a better way. And all this requires a biosphere interaction. So the ecosystem functional integrity, assessing biodiversity responses, integrating biogeochemical processes, all this and integrating them to our system models are the key. So with that, I stop here. Thank you so much.
What we'll do now is to move to the second focal theme lecture. If there's time, we can have a couple of questions after the second lecture is also over. Our second speaker is Professor Bijukumar, and he's currently Vice Chancellor of the Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies. He's also Senior Professor and Head of the Department of Aquatic Biology and Fisheries at Kerala University. He is one of the leading marine biologists in India, and he's been very widely recognized in international fora. He and his students and collaborators have discovered many new families of aquatic organisms. He has published prolifically and serves on the IUCN Species Survival Commission as well as on several national and international scientific committees. Professor Bijukumar.
Good afternoon. When I stand here to deliver the theme lecture, I recall my association with KSC STE and also the Science Congress. And Professor Balram mentioned about Professor N. Balakrishnan Nair. He started Kerala Science Congress, and when we were students, we were supporting the organization of Kerala Science Congress, and I remember those days. And also, when I look at the theme topic, I'm very sure that this is the topic which I'm going to discuss is sustainable blue economy, the interdisciplinary pathways for inclusive blue growth. I'll come to these technical terms a bit later, but this will be the outline of my presentation. I'll just briefly describe what exactly is blue economy, and what are the sectors where India has to focus its attention, and what are the potential challenges for blue economy, and what are the investment opportunities, especially in a seminar like this. The science also promote incubation and the business opportunities, and what are the specific investment opportunities in the blue economy sector, particularly with regard to the Indian context. and how the science and technology can lead the path, especially in exploring the possibility of sustainably using the oceanic resources. And I know that I read the stories of oceans and grew as a student. And many of these stories also tell us that the sustainability is one of the question. And for example, if you look at one of world's famous novels, particularly one of the most famous and widely read novels like Moby Dick, it tells us the stories about the whales and whale hunting. And there itself, the question of sustainability comes. And a series of documentaries, including the BBC, the famous Blue Earth, Blue Planet documentary, also inspired us as researchers as well. And also, when you read through the local literature, there are several books that provide us the stories about the oceans. And then as a scientist, we understand that ocean is something which governs the world and governs the climate of the world in terms of the oxygen supply, in terms of regulating the climate, and in terms of providing a series of minerals, which Dr. Tamban has rightly pointed out. When I specifically discuss about oceans, and you need to look at oceans in providing the services to the earth. And in terms of provisioning services, regulating services, cultural services, and all these services are very important when we discuss about sustainability. And then when you look at the sustainability of the ocean and the possibility of using oceanic resources for economic growth, and then the importance of the terminology called the blue economy. How are you going to use the resources of the ocean for the developmental purposes of the world, and how do you focus the attention? And then when you look at the precise definition which is given in the World Bank document, and also the famous Professor Gunther Pauly's definition on blue economy, says that it's the sustainable and responsible use of ocean resources to promote economic growth, improve livelihoods, and preserve the health of the marine ecosystems. So all these things components are important, as rightly pointed out by the Professor Balram in his introductory remarks. This is actually a double-edged sword. One side we are planning to exploit the resources from the ocean, and on the other side the conservation responsibilities that is within us. And how are you going to address these issues? When you project the blue economy potentials and ultimately plan for the blue growth, and what are the emerging areas, I will discuss one by one, and then we plan blue growth. And ultimately, many of the governments try to connect blue growth with the knowledge economy they are planning to have. And then how do you make the connectivity? And while preparing the presentation last night, and I was just going through the document which is published by the Government of India. This is called the Economic Survey Report 2026. And when you look at the Economic Survey 2026, and there is a very interesting statement which actually came to, which struck me very hard, and that is the global policy is increasingly shaped by security and political consideration rather than efficiency or multilateral rules. And we are living in a world where technology play a very, very important role for any country to become leaders. And when the Government of India envision a scenario of Atmanirbhar Bharat, and definitely we need technologies, we need our own the conservation policies within the country. How do you go ahead? And also specifically when you look at the economic survey, it specifically mentioned about the potentials of blue economy as far as India is concerned. When I was on parallel in Kerala, we have the planning board. And I was going through the Economic Survey Report 2025 prepared by the Planning Board. There is hardly any mention of the term, quote unquote, blue economy. At the same time, all the developmental scenarios in Kerala are rightly connected with the blue economy paradigms. For example, if you look at the port development, and we have one of the largest ports coming up in Trivandrum, it's called Vizhinjam Port, which is a deep sea, the port. And also there is a projection about the water metro, which of course is the prestige of Kochi, and which is also a model, a low carbon model to stimulate. And also, looking at the developmental projects, including the inland water highways. And for example, if you look at the developmental scenarios and planning process in Kerala, many of the developmental scenarios are very deeply connected with the blue economy paradigms. And that is where the blue economy concept is so important when we discuss, the future, and also the role of science and technology in leveraging, the potentials of blue economy. And then this is a document which probably everyone of us should read, and this is a technical document prepared by Government of India, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and this is a kind of policy document for transforming India's blue economy potential. And there are specifically some of the areas mentioned. I'll go through one by one and skip some of the things which already Dr. Tamban has mentioned in detail. Okay, then what are the potentials for India and also Kerala in developing blue economy? And some of the potentials are in exploiting the living resources from the ocean. And some of them are, of course, capture resources, which we use or catch from the natural water bodies, particularly from the ocean. And also, if you look at this year's FAO report, this is for the first time that what we get from the nature is coming down and what we culture from the system is going up. That means the future of India, especially in blue economy, is not efficiently catching from the ocean, but ensuring sustainability. At the same time, promoting aquaculture for meeting the demand of the resources. And third potential definitely is using the marine organism as a potential for biomolecules. And that is an area which probably India has to concentrate a lot. I'll come to that specifically later. And then now let us discuss what are the India's blue economy imperatives and what are the priorities that should be there, and also what are the priorities we should focus. And one is actually the economic diversification using marine resources on one side. And second, ensuring environmental sustainability. I'll discuss that towards the end. And third, when you discuss about sustainable development, social security is very, very important because livelihood of hundreds of people are linked with the marine resources. Okay. And third is the strategic security because, in defense and other strategic roles, and that is why Trump is more concerned about the Greenland. And so this is very much important as far as the blue economy is concerned. And then technology and innovation. This is another area where we can focus. And then you look at all these things, and on the top you will see some of the international commitments. For example, if you look at Sustainable Development Goal number 14, this is conservation of life below water. So that means we have a international commitment for preserving life on ocean. And also there are some contiguous areas. If you look at the UNCLOS, and this is called the biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. And there also we have some agreements to do and also complete. And then there is an interesting term called 30 into 30. And 30 into 30 is actually an international commitment which every country has to fulfill by 2050, where at least 30% of the inland, terrestrial and marine ecosystem we need to conserve by 2050. And this is part of our commitment to biodiversity conservation. So all these things are linked when we think about biodiversity and blue economy. And let us discuss one by one. One is actually the possibility of exploiting marine resources, marine living resources. And already, if you want to see on the left, there are large number of national packages. I am not explaining everything because of the shortage of time. And one is from Prime Minister's Matsya Sampada Yojana. And this is one of the initiatives through which, throughout the world, the youngsters are trained, and particularly for conserving and aquaculture, marketing, developing cold chains, etc. A series of programs are coming up, one. And then there are other schemes like the Fisheries policy, Blue Revolution, and also the Coastal Regulation Zone notification, etc., linked to the use of resources as well as ensuring its sustainability. And then the possibility that what government sees is to enhance the export potential to 100,000 crores. And at present it is 50,000 crores. Every year India gets more than 50,000 crores through the export of marine products. By 2030, what the government envisages through the program is to enhance it to 100,000 crores. And that means there should be a kind of stronger investment in this sector, and I will come to that specifically. And over these years, through these processes, there have been millions of jobs have been created, and also a series of new innovations have been introduced in the sector. And as a result, if you look at 50 years back, the scenario in India, where the agricultural products topped in the GDP contribution, at the same time now it's the marine resources which is contributing considerably to the India's the GVA growth. And that means there is a gradual shift towards the blue economy products in the last few decades as far as India is concerned. And this is a package, again this is a policy document published by Niti Aayog last month, and this is to how do we harness the deep sea resources. And for example, many of the shallow water species and their exploitation has reached the plateau. We cannot actually further enhance the fisheries. And then there is an option that we have the deep sea resources. And then how do we go ahead with that? And these are the possible stocks available. For example, open oceanic pelagics may be around 2.4 lakh tons. And then there is demersal stocks are 1.3 million tons, including in the continental slope area. And oceanic squids are about 1 to 1.5 million tons. And then, the total exploitable potential in the Indian exclusive economic zone may be around 7.1 million tons. And also, there is something which is invisible as far as Indian fisheries is concerned, and this is the mesopelagic resources, as you can see here. And this is called deep scattering share. This is a group of fishes which is living in the 200 to 1000 meter depth. And there is a huge potential of these organisms. But the challenge in India is to exploit them, because we need deep sea vessels and also the equipments to harness them. And third is the economic feasibility of bringing them back, and also converting them into value-added products. And their importance, this is one of the largest potential as far as India is concerned. And this is a huge resource of around more than 2 million tons. And 2 million tons for sustainable utilization, and this is where the government is at present focusing on. But for that, at present, India has no very good quality deep sea fishing vessels, and that is the reason an area where India is focusing. But the government of Kerala, it has a very interesting a plan or a dream, and that is already the traditional fishermen in Kerala are going into the ocean up to 200 meter depth. And that means if they are trained, they can be used for exploiting these resources. But then again, the question is that where do they get the fund? And also the research vessel, the fishing vessel. And this is an area where the government is now planning to develop cooperative societies. They can own the deep sea fishing vessel and allow train the traditional fishermen here, so that they can go and exploit these resources. And this is one of the potential possibility as far as India is concerned. And second interesting scenario in aquatic food production is the change from the animal meat to the vegetarian products and seaweed farming. And this is a huge potential as far as India is concerned. At present, India's contribution is less than 1% of the global seaweed export, because this is one of the major compounds for nutraceuticals and cosmetics. And this is an area where in PMSSY, the government is strongly focusing on. And the Kerala also has a unique potential. And that is why we are organizing an international seaweed conference also in Kufos in the first week of May to discuss that, and also to develop a roadmap on that. And then there are a lot of investment opportunities as far as in India and also in Kerala. And one is to invest in the deep sea offshore fisheries. And the second is to invest on seaweed farming. And that again a good potential as far as India is concerned. And third, CMFRA and other institutions are working on promoting cage culture, especially open cage culture, which is again a larger possibility, especially if you wanted to increase the production considerably. And one of the limitations now is actually the cold chain facilities. That means freezers and the cold chain network, and that is an area definitely where India has to invest a lot. And then there are a lot of possibility for fresh fish export now. Technologies are available. You can even freeze them, defreeze them, and then export it to, and there are invertebrates you can even export live. And all these facilities are available. These facilities is another thing. And many of the European countries now need some kind of a traceability certificate. That means the source of the production of the aquatic food. And that is very, very important. So traceability is another area where India has to invest a lot. That means, every fish caught from the ocean, the source should be known to the consumer. And that is very, very important. And that is where the blockchain technology and all the AI technology can play a very, very important role and also the technology and the engineering technology is required, particularly for developing the cold chain technology network, as well as producing solar cold storages, etc. And another challenge for India is bycatch. For example, the trawlers in India, they catch everything from the sea bottom, but only 20% will be the actual intended catch, 80% will be unintended, and that is called bycatch. America is rejecting the shrimp export from India, primarily because the Indian trawlers are not fitted with turtle excluder devices. And that is the reason why now America is banning Indian product. And this is an area where we have to have some kind of serious dialogue with the fishermen here, and also, ask them to have some kind of bycatch reduction devices in this area. And this is one area where the science has to focus. And when you think about sustainability of these resources, I'm not going into the details, and all these sustainability elements need to be incorporated in our planning, especially with regard to the living resources, because it's all connected with the sustainable development goals, all the 17 sustainable development goals. For example, sustainability is challenged, because we are now at the period of triple planetary crisis. We have climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And how do we address these questions? How do we ensure the ecosystem health? And that is where the restoration play a very, very important role. We need to have a strong restoration plan for the coastal area. At present, we have only few models, but there is no national plan for this kind of a scenario. Okay. And also there are a lot of international pressures. For example, there are the climatic variables and other variables. All these things question the sustainability of marine resources. And also there is a very interesting phenomena which is suggested by Professor Daniel Pauly, because many of the larger fishes in the marine ecosystems are already gone. Because fishing, it's very easy to remove the larger fishes. So predators are losing from the ocean, and then when we continue to fish, we are catching the fishes in the lower trophic level. So this is called fishing down the woodwork, which is there in India as well. So that means we need to have some kind of management measures, particularly for conserving the predators, which are, of course, with a different kind of a life cycle altogether. And also, we have a responsibility also to assess the carrying capacity of the ocean and also deploy the trawlers, which is, of course, not following now. Unfortunately, even though I'm a fishery scientist, I need to say, for example, in Kerala, based on the carrying capacity studies, the maximum number of trawlers possible in our coastal waters is around 2,500 or 2,000. And at present, there are 5,000 number of deep sea trawlers which are registered. That means there may be unregistered trawlers as well in the coast. And so that then there is a lot of opportunity as far as India is concerned in ecosystem restoration. For example, we have a large potential if you look at the international, the agreements. Blue carbon is something which fetches a lot of money. Blue carbon ecosystem, particularly the mangroves, the seagrasses, and also the salt marshes in our coast, can be used as a carbon sink, and then we can generate carbon credit from that, and it can play a very, very important role in carbon markets, especially blue bonds and carbon market. And that is one investment opportunity as far as India is concerned. And second, many of the marine protected areas in India are in the coral reef areas. But in the open ocean and in the very critical areas like estuaries, we have limited number of marine protected areas. If our commitment is to reach 30%, then we have to work hard. And that is another area where we have to have investment. And then already if you look at Kerala, 600 kilometer coastline, half of them are unstable and facing sea erosion. That means there we need technological interventions, especially hybrid technologies to prevent sea erosion. And this is contributed by climate change also. So there are a large number of investment opportunities when we discuss about blue economy potentials. And another definite, I am not discussing this one in detail, and maritime transport. Huge possibilities for expanding this opportunity in Kerala and as well as in India. A lot of programs are in pipeline, particularly by the government of India. And energy, already it is mentioned, renewable energy, and Kerala is one of the states which initially launched a tidal energy project, but we stopped it there. And another area is tourism. A lot of potentials are there, particularly developing maritime tourism. And this is one area, and there are large number of opportunities as far as a state like Kerala is concerned, promoting maritime as well as the inland tourism. And that is going to be one of the, the silver lines as far as the future economy of Kerala is concerned. And then there is a term called marina. Marina, there is no marina in India as such. Marina is an area where the private boats can come and park, and then they can use it for leisures. And this the economic survey in India focused specifically on this. For example, any tourist boat from anywhere in the world, they can come to India, they can park and then they can enjoy. Unfortunately, this is a marina which there in Greece, and this is again a potential opportunity for India, and government of Kerala is also very much interested in developing marinas as a potential area, not only for promoting tourism, but these areas will ultimately help us in developing research also, because many of the research vessels can also come and also park there, and this is one area. And then many of the areas are unexplored. For example, a few years back, we have done a study in Kerala coast where absolutely no coral reefs are available. We used ROVs and other technologies to document the marine life in the waters of Kerala coast. This is from Trivandrum. All these beautiful sceneries which you see in these photographs are from Trivandrum. We used up to 100 meters, we used ROVs also and to study and document these sites. And many of them are unexplored, and these are called rocky reefs. We don't have coral reef, but we have rocky reefs. And these are all, the centers of biodiversity. And once you document them, then you will understand that many of these organisms have very good potential as organism for deriving biomolecules, ecosystem conservation, and also these are all the biodiversity hotspots under 50 meters of depth. And all these things are, the areas which can promote sustainable fisheries also. For example, these are the areas used by the traditional fishermen for fishing. And then there is a terminology called pesca tourism, which of course is not tried in India. I request the Fisheries Department and Tourism Department to take an initiative on this. And this is very popular in Italy and other countries where, if tourists can travel with the fishermen, especially the traditional fishermen, and they can go with them, and then they can help them in fishing, and then they understand the ecosystem, and then they can enjoy the seafood also within the vessel, and then come back. And this is again a greater opportunity, just like what you do in the forest, in the eco-development zones. And this is again another area where we can have a larger potential in using and documenting life. Many of these organisms are unknown, particularly in India, and that means we need also a lot of manpower development in promoting taxonomy to identify these organisms. And also, if you wanted to promote heritage tourism, and this is a site in Trivandrum where a French vessel was sunken in maybe 120 years back. And these are all the very good centers for promoting scuba tourism, primarily because these are all biodiversity centers. And you can see another area in Anchutanga, which is again another ship wreck site, which of course is a very interesting biodiversity hotspot now over a period of time through the process of ecological succession. Another area where we again has to concentrate is to develop beaches as blue flag beaches. It needs some kind of a science, primarily because it depends upon the water quality, the quality of the geology of the system, as well as the certification. Primarily to certify a beach as a high quality beach in terms of hygiene to promote tourism. And Kerala has only 2 beaches now as blue flag beaches, but we need to have more and more beaches which are an indication of sustainability, quality, and also ensuring livelihood in the long run. And this is another area. And another area which I primarily focus here is definitely promoting blue biotechnology. And I still remember reading some of the very fascinating papers by Professor Balram, where he worked on conotoxin and corn shells and developing the crystallizing molecules from the corn shells. And this is again another area where Kerala can definitely focus, and primarily using marine organisms, sedentary organisms particularly, as a source for unique biological molecules and bioactive compounds, and also promoting blue economy impact. And this is an area which, of course, we need a lot of collaboration as well, particularly international collaboration to carry this forward, because marine genomics is an area which is at its infancy in India. And a lot of potentials are there, and then Kerala has an advantage primarily because we have a very huge marine biodiversity here, and unleashing this potential would also require some kind of trained manpower and also a stronger focus on blue biotechnology and using marine organism as a tool to promote the nutraceutical development and bioactive molecule development. And so there are a lot of investment opportunities, and I would request the government primarily, already it is done, because we are developing a lot of biological biopark, 360 biopark is also there. There we have a lot of investment opportunities, particularly for promoting blue biotechnology or marine biotechnology and innovation. Because many of these areas are unexplored, particularly to develop a startup and IP ecosystem in India, and promoting these companies in the bioparks in India is another opportunity, particularly when you look at the future of Kerala. And non-living resources, already it is dead in detail, but the only difference which we have, I still remember Professor Balram when when we discuss, when we talk something against development, some of my very close the professors working in the physics and chemistry call us biological mafia. Okay, why? What is the problem with biological mafia? Biological mafia always oppose some of the things which is pro-developmental. Okay, so the problem is that when we have a proposal in Kerala for sand mining in a 100-meter depth area, or it is 80-meter depth area, there is huge sand reserve, absolutely no doubt. But that was close to a very prominent fishing ground called the Kollam Bank. We oppose it primarily because we have documented many of the biological resources there. For example, this is a classical example right in front of the mining site. Maybe around 15 meters from there, but in ocean 50 meters is absolutely nothing, as you know. And when all these kind of the plumes and other impacts will be there. And also look at the sea erosion. So sand mining, as a scientist, we oppose primarily because this is a fishing area. Absolutely no issue, we can go for deep sea mineral exploitation, but if it is from the fishing zone, it has to be done with a caution. And that is the only reason we opposed it, especially sand mining from the shallow waters, or maybe around less than 100 meters depth, because it's actually a storehouse of biodiversity in this area. And then, when you look at the future, I'll stop in 5 minutes time, and that is investment opportunities. A lot of investment opportunities are there as far as Kerala is concerned. And because when you look at the global literature, these are the literature connected with the blue investment, and the literatures are increasing. And also if you look at the areas of research from blue economy, it is connected with the multiple disciplines of science, and that makes this science, blue economy, I would rather call it blue economy science, multidisciplinary. That means, the biologists alone cannot do anything with the blue economy, primarily because it's a multidisciplinary subject. We need a lot of collaboration in future discussions when we think about blue economy development in India. And a classical example is you look at European Union goals of sustainable blue economy. Some of the terminologies are very, very important. They speak about sustainability. They speak about circular economy, and these are the things which need to be ingrained in Indian discussions as well when we discuss about the future of blue economy, primarily because it's connected with many of the sustainable development goals. And last part of my talk, I speak about the decade, UN decade of science for ocean science for sustainable development, and what are the science and research activities globally happening in this area. And there's an interesting slogan, the science we need for the ocean we want. This is the theme of the Ocean Decade for Sustainable Development. And what are the missions? And the missions are primarily using science and technology to ensure sustainability of marine resources. And one of the major areas, these are the areas I'm not listing that, but one of the major areas is, if you look at some of the flagship research programs happening there, especially the science breakthroughs, which some of them already explained by Professor Tamban, Dr. Tamban, and that is, one is mapping. And before you start exploration and exploitation, you need mapping and digital atlas. That is something which we need. Observation system he mentioned specifically, which is happening in India. And then a deeper ecosystem knowledge and the data and information, which ultimately gets translated into models and knowledge. And then multi-hazard warning system, ocean in earth services, and education and ocean literacy. All these are very much interconnected, especially when you have a science, the linkage with these applications. These are all happening at the international level. And also technology for detecting the bycatch. For example, there are some high-tech future for sustainable fishing, because many of the fishing vessels are now attached with the digital sensors, which sense the presence of turtles, which can sense the, the presence or quantity of bycatch. And if you use this kind of blockchain technology and sensor technology in the fishing vessels, you can very well detect. And also along with that, you can very well trace, the presence of the fish in the ocean ecosystem, and we can have a certification on traceability as well. So if you use the technology for future development of the fisheries, and there is again a possibility, but then biologists cannot do that. We need engineers, we need AI experts to do that, and that is also happening in many parts of the world. And also, what do you do with the data? We are living in the world of multi-data and, using the metadata for modeling purposes. So we need, the precise collection of essential ocean variables to document, the status of the ecosystem. And that is why, because this is connected with the multiple conservation initiatives. And innovations play a very, very important role. And this is again, if you look at these innovations, normally what you do with fish when you eat at home, you discard the skin and all the byproducts. If you use the skin and combine it with seaweed, you can develop a wonderful, biological material like cloth. And this is something which is tried in the fashion world in France, where they combine the fish waste with the seaweed and develop fabrics out of that. So innovations play a very, very important role in utilizing and value adding these resources. FAO also look at blue transformation, where the livelihood security can be ensured through the sustainable utilization of resources. And also the technology can be used for tracing vessels. One of the major problem in India is illegal fishing. And now, within the lab, if you use technology, you can very well, with remote sensing technology, you can track every vessel in the ocean. And if you can use the technology, you can reduce. And this is done by, in Europe, with the help of citizen scientists. That means with a mobile app, with the citizen scientists who have absolutely no background on that, they are, tracing the illegal fishing vessels using the modern technologies. That means technology can play a very, very important role. Another area where India has to invest heavily is the marine spatial planning. Using all these geological and the spatial tools, precisely identify the hotspots where the fishermen live, where the industries are possible, and also designing the coastal developmental activity. Marine spatial planning is at its infancy in India. When definitely in the next integrated coastal zone development plans, this is ingrained. And also, training manpower. When you speak about exploiting the potentials of blue economy, we need trained manpower. Particularly if you look at the engineers who are jobless in India, and many of them has to come down and they have to have an entirely different plan, because the deep ocean mission provide a lot of opportunity, particularly for developing robots and also developing technologies for mineral exploitation and traceability, etc., etc. And that is the reason why in the last Blue Economy Conclave, we proposed a Kerala EU Center of Excellence in Maritime Skills and Sustainable Blue Economy. And that proposal is now active. And once this is there, and we can definitely, we hope that we can train many of the youngsters in some of the emerging areas of blue economy. And these are the areas which we suggested. And since Honorable Advisor to the CM Science Advisor is also here, Dattan sir, I would also suggest that anyway the KSST is coming up with a lot of innovative center of excellence, and one center can be on interdisciplinary center on excellence for blue economy, science and technology. This can definitely promote blue economy in a larger manner. KSST alone cannot do, but it can be done with multiple organizations and of course with the deep ocean mission. And then ultimately this will be one of the platform to leverage all these kind of future developmental potentials in blue economy as far as Kerala is concerned. And what we need definitely finally is kind of understanding of science, understanding of ocean, and also the financing mechanism to support the whole entire thing. And then, and if you have a political will, ultimately we can think that this will happen. And just like what the theme of your Kerala Science Congress says, we can celebrate science and we can transform lives. Thank you so much.
I think we are running late. We are already 15 minutes past 1 o'clock. So I think we won't take any questions, but let all of you discuss whatever you want with the speakers. Let me just thank both our speakers, Dr. Thampan and Professor Biju for their very informative talks, and then hand over to...
May I call Professor Balram, Chairman of the 38th Kerala Science Congress, to present the memento to Dr. Tamban Melot, Director of the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, Goa. May I also invite Professor A. Bijukumar, Vice Chancellor of the Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies, Kochi, to receive the memento.
Thank you, Balram sir. As we come to the conclusion of this session, I invite Dr. C. Anil Kumar, Chief Scientist, Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, distinguished guests, esteemed scientists, faculty members, delegates and my dear friends. On behalf of the organization of the 38th Kerala Science Congress, I consider this as a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks for the focal theme session. We are deeply honored to have had Dr. Tamban Melot, Director, National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, and Professor A. Bijukumar, Vice Chancellor, Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies, as our eminent speakers. Their insightful and scholarly presentations, marked by scientific depth and contemporary relevance, have greatly enriched the deliberations of this Science Congress and provided valuable perspectives on the focal theme. We are profoundly grateful to both the speakers for sharing their expertise, experience, and vision with us. Thank you, sir. I also wish to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Professor A. Balram for the elegant and insightful introduction of the speakers, which set an appropriate academic and intellectual context for the focal theme lectures. My sincere thanks are also due to the organizers for conducting the sessions so efficiently and to the delegates for their keen participation and meaningful interactions. I would like to acknowledge the dedicated efforts of the organizing committee, coordinators, volunteers, and supporting staff for their meticulous planning and smooth execution of the program. With these words, I once again extend our warm thanks to the distinguished speakers and to everyone who has contributed directly or indirectly to the success of the focal theme lectures of the 38th Kerala Science Congress. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll break for lunch, and the next session will be commencing at sharp 2 o'clock. For the students who couldn't register for the memorial lectures, we have an opportunity for a spot registration. During the sessions, we will display the QR codes. Repeating, for students who couldn't register for the memorial lectures, there's an opportunity for spot registration. During the session, a QR code will be displayed. Thank you.